It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh man, did it rain last night? It came absolutely hammering down. Man, we have a fan going in the bedroom all the time. It keeps the air moving around, and it's kind of like a white noise in the background. But even above that fan, you could hear the rain just hammering down on the metal roof. Man, okay, well, it is Monday. That's right, unmistakably Monday. You cannot miss Monday. However, this week it's a little unusual because we start off with a holiday. It's Labor Day. So it's a federal holiday. Probably a lot of people aren't working. I'm not quite sure if you're working or not, but it is Monday, the start of the work week, sort of, in a manner of speaking. Well, let me see here. As I said, it is Labor Day, so let me see. Federal offices are closed. I don't know, Brian, do you know if Hornell City Hall is open or not?
I believe it is closed today, Jonathan.
It's closed. Okay, so there you go. Banks are closed, of course, and the government offices are closed, and school starts this week. This is going to be some kind of a week. Yes, sir. Everything's going to change this week. School starts, and maybe Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. There's going to be a lot more traffic out there. There was hardly any traffic this morning, which was very nice. I kind of like that. But later on this week, just in a few short days, bingo, here's the start of the school year. And, as I said, it's going to be a lot more traffic, and there's going to be kids on bicycles, maybe walking or something like that. The crossing guards will be out doing their job. And school buses, that's right. Watch for school buses. You can't emphasize that enough. You have to watch for school buses because the kids are not watching out for you, so you have to watch out for them. And I have a story here. This was ABC News. These people here in this story, they have got to be the most irresponsible, worst drivers in the universe. The headline is more than 54,000 citations issued in Maryland for passing school buses. Not in the state, but only one county. Ugh, I think I probably avoid that county. It says... after more than 54,000 citations were issued last year to drivers who blew past school buses with stop signs extended, a little sign that comes out in Montgomery County, Maryland, all buses this year will be outfitted with safety cameras. A pretty good idea. So 54,000 citations in one county in 1 year. Wowee! That's something. That's really something. Montgomery County sheriff's deputies released a video of a dozen such incidents in the wake of releasing a video showing a 16-year-old girl being struck by a car. And here's the video. Of course, it's on a sheet of paper, but the video was really interesting. Here's a 16-year-old girl. She's struck by a car as she's crossing the street to get on a school bus. So she's tossed onto the hood of the car. The 16-year-old girl. And then the driver reverses back toward the scene of the accident after the girl picked herself up and sprinted back toward the vehicle that dropped her off. At least the guy backed up to see exactly what happened. But that's what happens if you pass. That's what could happen very easily if you pass a stopped school bus when its lights are flashing and the stop sign's out and the whole thing. So that 16-year-old girl was pretty lucky because she was like, okay, but it could have been far different. So watch for all those school buses out there. Well, let me see what's got. Oh, the end of this week. Big day. Community Day in the little old village of Almond. That's right. That bustling hub of industry and commerce. And on Saturday, that Community Day is a lot of fun. It really is. And in the years I've been there, the parade, which lines up at the Almond Union Church right by the corner there, it gets bigger and bigger each year. And it's a lot of fun. It's pretty interesting. It goes from there, the church, all the way down to the park, right. And there are yard sales all over the place. It starts at one end of Almond, goes all the way to the other end of the village, and then it continues down to 21. So if you're looking for any kind of anything, there are yard sales all over the place. So Main Street in Almond essentially becomes like one lane because cars are parked on one side and cars are parked on the other, and there really isn't a whole bunch of room down the street, but it's a lot of fun. Man, it really is a lot of fun. So pack a lot of cash, right? Pack cash, and you can pick up some pretty good bargains at those yard sales. And it really is a lot of fun. I like that. Well, let me see. What else is going on? Well, unfortunately, we had another shooting over the weekend. I'm sure you heard about it. 7 people dead. Now let me see. 7 dead, 22 wounded. This guy apparently lost his job at a trucking company and just lost it. He just went crazy. It's just out of nowhere. So he kills 7 people. He murders 7 people. 22 were wounded. And right now, the guy is room temperature. Okay? So they got him. The cops down there got him. But, another shooting in Texas. I don't know. It's such a sad thing. And once again, people are talking about, what caused this, and how do we solve that, and how do we solve it, and how do we solve it? Well, as I said before, you try to find a simple answer to a complex problem, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Well, why don't we do this thing? Or why don't we do that thing? And no matter what thing you think of doing, it's not going to work. Because it's a complex problem. And I think it would take a reworking of our entire culture. It's multifaceted. There are a lot of things involved in this, Now, this guy didn't have it out for any one group of people or another group of people, and he just shot anybody at random, including I think it was a 17-month-old girl who was doing okay now. Okay, it's going to take a little bit of work, but apparently she will be okay. So there wasn't any one target, there wasn't anything, and he just started shooting. And you say, well, how about we ban guns? How about we take all the guns away? That's not going to do it. As I said, it's systemic. It's in our culture. And frankly, if I knew how to solve it, I would say right now, this is how you solve it, and that's it. And then I take the headphones off and go home. But I don't know. It just takes a reworking of the entire culture. I don't know how that's going to happen. Anyway, so you can't really look for simple answers. However, let me see. This was a statement from Governor Cuomo. And this is dated September 1st, which, of course, was yesterday. And his official statement on what happened is, and I'm quoting here, Mr. President, do something. Now, do something is in all caps. Mr. President, do something. How many more families will lose loved ones? How many more communities will be torn apart? How many more tragedies will it take before, quote, leaders, unquote, act? The bloodshed must end now. Do something. Again, do something is in all caps. Well, that sounds good. Yeah. And then what? Do what? Do something. Do something this, do something that. I don't know. But that's his official statement. The bloodshed must end now. Do something. Okay, so that's his official statement on what happened in Odessa, Texas, and all the other shootings, and so there you go. Okay, well, this is Labor Day, right? So believe it or not, I got this from Popular Mechanics. You never know where you're going to find something. Popular Mechanics. What is Labor Day? Learn about the history of the holiday. Let me see. An 8-hour workday wasn't always the golden standard, it says here. 2 centuries ago, that's 200 years, right? American workers often clocked double digits at physically demanding and often unsafe jobs. Something workers protested on September 5th, 1882. And it was the first Labor Day parade, in which approximately 10,000 people peacefully marched from New York City Hall. And that's according to the archives of the New York Times. In the years that followed, protests continued says Shannon Risk. Dr. Shannon Risk, she's an associate professor of history at Niagara University. She says in early May 1886, after a series of peaceful protest meetings, the police attacked protesters in Chicago on May 3rd. She says a protest meeting was scheduled for May 4th, 1886, but a bomb sparked violence, and the police rounded up anarchist suspects. Some of those suspects were sentenced to death, Risk says, and after these events, labor unions in the United States felt that the state and federal government could not support workers, but rather the corrupt corporate interests, or did not support workers, but rather the corrupt corporate interests. Labor unions such as the Knights of Labor continued to fight for shorter workdays and safer working environments, and these unions chose May 1st, or May Day, as the annual workers' holiday to recognize the efforts of the union. Risk explains, but in 1893, the U.S. faced a severe economic recession. Workers at the Pullman car factory in Chicago went on strike, as did with workers from the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company. These workers were joined by many others in 1894, and like the Haymarket Square protest, workers were brutally put down, this time by federal troops. Congress didn't want to honor May 1st as a holiday, fearing its connection to the Haymarket Square protest, Risk explains. So instead, the government decided to give a nod to U.S. workers on the first Monday in September. May 1st remains International Workers' Day. And on June 28, 1894, Congress passed the act designating Labor Day as the first Monday in September. And so there we are. So that's a little bit of the history of labor. Now, Brian, I think on the Newsmaker program this morning, you're going to have a special on Labor Day?
Labor Day from Fox.
Oh, well, that'll be nice. Okay, so that's coming up on the Newsmaker program. That's good. And what else? That's Labor Day. Oh, okay. You're driving down, let's say, I-86 or the New York State Thruway, or let's say actually on 36 between Hornell and Canisteo. And there's some guy in the left-hand lane. Okay, let's say you're on I-86. And the speed limit is 65 miles an hour, right? So some guy's in the left-hand lane doing 55 or 50 for mile after mile. And he has his left blinker on for mile after mile. And you're going, really? Really? So you're trying to pass the guy in the right? Because he's going like 55 miles an hour in the fast lane when the speed limit is 65. And he's going along mile after mile. Well, okay, this is in New York. Lawmaker wants to limit left highway lane for passing only. Now, a lot of states have that. Who is he? Joe Griffo. He's a Republican from Oneida County, wants to rewrite the state's vehicle and traffic law, commonly referred to by motorists as the fast lane, to drivers who are passing other vehicles. Under the provisions of the bill, vehicles in the left lane would need to move to the right after driving without passing anyone for a mile and a half. Now, we've all seen drivers who have driven a lot farther than a mile and a half in the fast lane. Anyway, his office as a lawmaker introduced legislation after receiving numerous complaints about drivers not using the left lane for its intended purpose, which is passing other vehicles. Coasting in the passing lane along an interstate highway poses a safety risk. Oh, yes, sir. It disrupts the flow of traffic and can lead to road rage, the bill memorandum states. This bill would encourage individuals to occupy the left lane only when passing or overtaking another vehicle, or to comply with the state's move over law, reads the memo. Reads the memo referring to state law that obligates drivers to shift lanes away from an emergency vehicle. In doing so, traffic will be allowed to move more effectively and efficiently and safely. Now, a throughway regulation requires obedience to all posted signs, including those saying to keep right except when passing. Of course, not everybody observes that. Failing to follow the signs could result in a violation. State law applying to all roadways in New York requires vehicles driving below the speed limit to remain in the right-hand lane or as close as practicable to the right curb, depending on the situation. So, a lot of states have a similar law. Okay, you can't go dawdling in the passing lane. And I think that's an absolutely great idea. Okay, fine. There's a similar law in New Hampshire. I think there's one in California. It doesn't say so here, but I believe there's one in California. Anyway, so I think that'd be an absolutely great idea. Yes, sirree, Bob. And what else have we here? Oh, this is, you've heard, of course, that a lot of fentanyl in the United States comes from China, right? This was from the Daily News. Enough fentanyl to kill 14 million people recovered in monster drug bust, officials say. A drug bust spanning a trio of states led to 35 arrests as officials uncovered enough fentanyl to kill the entire population of Pennsylvania, the Department of Justice says. In addition to the fentanyl haul, enough to kill 14 million, the 3-day operation turned up firearms and large quantities of cocaine and heroin. Who's this? G. Zachary Terwilliger, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. He said this operation, through its seizure of scores of kilograms of illicit narcotics, saved lives. Probably did. The bust spanned Virginia, North Carolina, and Texas. More than 120 law enforcement officers worked on the operation. Terwilliger said at a news conference that most of the illicit fentanyl, a highly addictive synthetic opioid, comes to the United States from China, often through the mail. And he said the last thing we want is for the U.S. Postal Service to become the nation's largest drug dealer. Enough to kill 14 million people. Wow, So there we have it. Enough fentanyl to kill 14 million people, coming from China. Nice. That's very nice. You know, in times like this, I believe everybody needs insurance. You never know what's going to happen. Well, let's see. Is there any better insurance agency in the area or anywhere at all in the universe? Is there any better than the Ryan agencies? I don't think so. No, absolutely not. They have offices in Hornell, Jasper, and Wellsville. They're local, as I just said. They are insurance experts. They offer sound, unbiased advice. They're friendly. They're local. They don't work for any one insurance company. They check all the insurance companies to find the best rates for you, what will work best for you, because you are the important one. So they put you first. And they also have a wonderful website. I have a really nice website called RyanAgency.com, and you can pay your bill, report a claim, email an agent, get a quote, meet the staff, leave a review, do all kinds of stuff. A great website. They are the Ryan Agencies.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Brian Fenley.
In the only college football game on Sunday, Jalen Hurts hoodwinks Houston.
Hurts, snap, play action, rolling right, evading a man, wants to run it himself, and he is into the end zone. It's a touchdown. Jalen Hurts.
That's the voice of Toby Rowland. With Oklahoma Learfield IMG College, Hurts compiled 6 touchdowns, and 4th-ranked Oklahoma embarrasses the Cougars 49-31. Astros pitcher Justin Verlander threw a no-hitter, his 3rd of his career, as Houston casts away the Blue Jays 2-0. Jock Peterson strokes the walk-off home run as the Dodgers ruin the Diamondbacks 4-3 in 11 innings. The Yankees hit back-to-back home runs in the bottom of the 9th to win in walk-off fashion 5-4 over the A's. Mike Ford had the game-clinching blast. The Yankees are the first team in the majors to get to 90 wins. The Dodgers have 89.
From the Fox Business Network, Inspirato Pass is a new subscription service for unlimited luxury travel. Brent Handler is its founder and CEO.
It is super convenient for people that want to travel a lot, or maybe they want to travel 2 or 3 times a year. And what you do is you book a trip, and as soon as you check out, you go on the trip, and then as soon as you check out, you can book your next trip.
A subscription starts at $2,500 a month.
We made it super simple for folks. They just pick what they want. They travel. It's obviously a 5-star experience with concierge, with a very high level of service. And so far, the response has been fantastic.
But the subscription does not cover airline tickets, rental cars, parking, food, and beverages. The markets are closed for the Labor Day holiday. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
Guys, waking up over and over to pee is not okay. You can reduce those nighttime bathroom trips. with the ingredients in Super Beta Prostate P3 Advanced. You can try a full 30-day bottle free. Just pay shipping and handling. No strings attached, no obligations, and no commitments to buy. Call 1-800-257-5251. 1-800-257-5251. 1-800-257-5251.
Today at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell, New York, you'll find brand new 2019 Nissan all-wheel drive Rogue SV models equipped with heated power seat, 17-inch alloys, remote start, and motion-activated liftgate for only $23,999. Shop Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads or Hornell. Simmons-Rockwell.com.
And here we are. Yes, sir. I normally don't do this day in history. I leave that for the experts. We have Dr. Gary Ostrow of Alpha University and Dr. Nick Waddy of Alfred State. So I leave that for them because they know a lot more than I do. But there are three really interesting things that happened on this day. In 1945, of course, on this day, Japan officially surrendered to the United States. And that was the end of that. They signed the unconditional surrender document on the deck of the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Bay. And that was the end of that. So, it's kind of interesting, is that even now, years and years, that was in 1945, years and years later, a lot of people, say that we shouldn't have dropped the atomic bomb on Japan because it was a very inhumane, horrible, terrible thing to do. Well, so too was Japan's unprovoked attack on the United States. That too was a horrible, terrible thing. So, they started it and we finished it. And I think that Harry Truman did the right thing because, from what I've read, Japan was not going to surrender. They were not going to stop. They were not going to give up. And my dad was in the Navy in World War II. I mentioned that in the past. And he was on the East Coast, and he would help. He was on a destroyer escort, and they would escort convoys across the Atlantic. And toward the end of the war, the last couple of months, he was transferred to the West Coast. That's right, because we were planning to invade mainland Japan. And the way it went, the Japanese were in no way going to give up. There's not a chance in the world that they were going to give up. And the U.S. estimated that we would suffer 1 million casualties. And yet it's something that had to be done. So Harry Truman said, well, let's see, either we lose 1 million or we suffer 1 million casualties or we end the war. So he made the decision to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. And that didn't work. Then we said, well, that didn't work. Maybe we'll try again. And then we dropped the bomb on Nagasaki. And that was it. And the Japanese said, okay, that's it. We're done. We're finished. We give up. Yeah, so it was terrible, but either we sustained 1 million casualties or the Japanese suffered far less with 2 bombs. So that's what he did, and he did the right thing. Okay, that was in 1945. Also, in 1666, now we've heard about this, you probably have, a few little details about this, the Great Fire of London in 1666. Now, they had a number of fires in London, but this is called the Great Fire of London, 1666. And the place was, most of it was made of wood. So it was essentially like a box of matches, right? And when that fire started, there were approximately 80,000 people living in the inner old city of London. The population of London at that time was approximately 500,000. But living in the inner city, which is where this fire started, there were 80,000 people. And at the end of the fire, which lasted approximately, I think, 3 days, 70,000 people were homeless. 70,000 people out of 80,000 living in old London. They lost 13,000 houses in a very, very short period of time. So it was a terribly destructive fire. And the previous year, 1665, London underwent the plague. Yet another episode of the plague. So between the plague and the Great Fire of London, it was not the best place in the world to be at that point in time. That's why a lot of people moved out of the city and into the country. So there you go. Oh, also, this is first ATM machine, 1969. Yes, sir. Love it. Okay, tomorrow I will see you at 8:05. Bye.